let's take a little bit of a flashback to me while I'm a little bit younger, zero bags in my eyes, and a very, very younger and more, I guess, sane person, if that makes sense. So there's me, very much out of high school, zero ability to even iron my own clothes. Shouts out to my mom who always did that. Even just the ability, but thankfully with the C-STEP Summer Bridge program, I was able to pretty much be surrounded with like-minded individuals that were leaders that really wanted to pretty much expose themselves in ways in their careers. And what was great is that most of these leaders and curators, they were all 100% first gen or very in diverse backgrounds. And what that helps is pretty much propels students to pretty much get to where they need to into many different fields and in any ways that they really want to communicate in. And why is that crucial? Because that really inspired me. I started with zero idea on what I wanted to do. I had no idea with all these accolades mentioned that I was going to get to this point. But it all didn't start as linearly as many people had in their experience likewise. So when I first started my introduction classes here at Farmingdale State College, I brought this initial assumption that this is how my class environment would be. I was completely wrong. So with that, with my classes, 30% were mainly first gen, or at least 20% were diverse backgrounds. So I guess I stuck out like a sore thumb, which is okay, because not really with that, I really wanted to propel that in a way, and also saw that there has been a lack of Hispanic leadership. With the current cohorts of students and future upperclassmen at the time, they have really exposed me to ways that we really need to make a change on this campus for Hispanic leadership and or just leadership in general in STEM. At that time, there has been many different leadership initiatives, but I wanted to create something new. And in that, it required a very, very, very strenuous process, but at the same time, I would know that it's going to be achievable. So the way how I saw that is once I saw that there's a lack of this, I felt scattered. Almost like, give it a second, a Rubik's Cube. Because with a Rubik's Cube, it's scattered. There's different pieces everywhere. There is gonna be some cohesion, like here already first row completed, but there is still going to be some scatter, confusion, and everything of that nature. A great way to pretty much put it is almost similar to the initiatives that I wanted to get into, the late and great Jesse Owens, to really much get into sort of these initiatives and to really start something new. There's gonna be a lot of determination, social impact, perseverance, and all these sort of things, but it all starts with one person, myself or any of you. That's pretty much what I wanted to get into and start into it. So I decided to take that principle and apply it to my standards for this sort of experience for that. So similar to the Rubik's Cube, the same principle that Jesse Owens made, I applied it to the Rubik's Cube. It needs practice, persistence, and tenacity. One of the three different things that I really wanted to cultivate for myself to get into these goals that I wanted to be in right now. So starting off with practice, pretty much just getting into my academics. Being able to know my study routine, being able to acclimate myself with the college environment was crucial at first. Any sort of parties or anything of that nature, I tried going, but didn't like it. So only focusing on the books. It was cool. I also had friends at the time, shocking, right? So being able to really get a sort of a communication with that standard, I wanted to get into. And it worked. That was one of the main things that I really wanted to solidify, and making sure that I had a high GPA at first to really get that sort of GPA and sort of that routine started. So with that, I was like, all right, we got this. End of 2019, starting 2020, let's do it. It didn't work. The pandemic really shaped many different instances for people like myself and everybody here to pretty much go from a now usual setting and a usual environment to now going into back to your room, back to your house, and now just being isolated for the next 3 months. But since I'm an engineer, I was thinking in a more mathematical perspective, and many different times, take a negative, turn it into a positive. Let's try to see how that initiative works. So with that time, I'm able to go into now work on myself and now being able to see what sort of things that I learned from the first semester and seeing how I can apply it to what sort of things that I can do for my career. And so that started with research. So I first started my project as a capstone shadow working on a drone. I actually crashed it like 3 times in Knapp Hall and the building. Is John Nader here? Okay, good. So I hope he doesn't know that I did that, but with the, yeah, it's okay. But with that sort of creation, it put me in a position to really now understand the application that I learned in courses into what I needed to get into. And so that was great. And that pretty much propelled me into a way to getting into now what started my first legacy at Brookhaven National Lab as a research summer student with their quantum computing initiative. And it was great because now that pretty much propelled me and funneled me into research. And with these programs, like I mentioned to a couple students earlier, is that with these sort of initiatives and goals that you get into research, you're really filtering what sort of avenues you're interested in. And that's what's crucial, because going into sort of an education aspect and getting to where you need to be, you really need to factor out what things are not in your interest and also in your interest. So that's what was crucial for myself. So I guess you could say I completed one side. But like I mentioned, since a Rubik's Cube is 6 sides, there is a good and the bad. So there has been 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of an approach to really get to where I needed to be. So moving on to persistence. The persistence aspect was very crucial for myself in being able to now be expunged into research. Be a sponge. Where's Alice? Sponge from last year. So with that sort of avenue, being able to become fully immersified in the research fields that I want to get into propelled me into getting now into starting my first research project at Brookhaven National Lab, summer of 2022. And it was a great experience, but the leadership that I faced during that time was very hindering. The work that I did was able and ability to do that, but the leadership aspect and getting the key aspects of my project fulfilled was never really communicative well with my mentor. So that really slowed me down. But did I stop? No. That's one of the things that I did learn, and I just tried again. And so thankfully, that also allowed me to be able to now work autonomously and with the ability to work with another mentor the following year on getting a new sort of opportunity involved. On top of that, with working there, I also started my capstone project. And now I'm 1 step closer into mind control, but I'm not gonna do that. So this sort of project, I started doing the scanning of brainwave data and making sure that we can try a new method in trying to wirelessly transmit our incoming data into a cloud server, your phone. So it's easily accessible for everybody and making sure that security is also a prerogative too. So with that, my friends and I had the full autonomy to work on a project, design our own board, and created everything from scratch. It was great. It was an amazing opportunity, and we pretty much decided to continue this later on. So I guess you could say, yeah, I finished 2 sides already of that sort of Rubik's Cube. I'm getting close to where I'm at. But there's one more aspect that needs to be solved, and it's that tenacity. So seeing in all these research internships and all these good stuff, I felt like there was something missing. And so with that, it came leadership. Because now with all the things that I learned, I wanted to reciprocate it and bring it back to future students into Farmingdale or anywhere that I go. Because it is crucial that the next cohort, a generation of students, also be prepared for research and also be interested in research. Because if not, then what's the point, to me? So doing that, I did initial initiatives at IEEE as a treasurer and the senator at large at SGA. And pretty much with Leadership 101, did a bunch of little projects, committed some things, career development, but I felt like there was something missing. I felt like there was something that was crucial that I wanted to get into. And so with that, I guess you could say I finished my Rubik's Cube approach on this, but it feels like there was something missing. Because with all of this, everybody has an identity to each other. And culturally, specifically, either music-wise. So I really wanted to bring my culture from my family and from my friends that have speared me to get into here, into that sort of aspect. And so that's when I entered the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers at this campus. And so that was crucial into helping develop students in a way in a Hispanic background to form their identities, because it was difficult for myself. I never really had somebody to hold my hand and get into sort of these positions. I just did it myself, risk or no risk at all. And so with that, with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, I really want these students to be propelled and be really creative into what they want to get into. So with that, all these great things that Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers is able to do is not only being able to get mentorship, scholarships, but also the ability to be a sponge again. And with the national convention aspect too, many students can be immersified in many different tasks and goals that they need to get into. And so with that, starting this, collaborating with different clubs around campus, and bringing this into fruition was one of my most exciting things. Am I done? No. Because, like I said, there's so many different tosses and turns that really needs to get into it, but sure as now, students are enjoying it. And so with that, coming to somebody who had zero idea of what to get into to just now what I am has been crazy. From something that was aimless to now where I am now. And so what I want to leave as the last Spark speaker is that do it. Don't think about it. Don't hesitate. Everybody can do it. And for myself, and I'm going to quote Pharrell because he's been a huge inspiration to this, you can do it too. You can do it. Anybody can. It all just starts with yourself. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I really, really appreciate it. And go Ignite.